Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone to this lecture about the first period in the English history, in modern English history, of course. Clear. We'll try to cover its different characteristics, its different events, clear, and also its different influential factors that led to the evolution of both the English literature as well as the English language too, because these were related. Clear, historical events influenced both, right, the English literature and also the evolution of the English language, which was used later, okay, to write the different English literary works. Now, this first period is called the Old English period, or also it's called the Anglo-Saxon period in English history. Old English period or Anglo-Saxon period. Now, Anglo-Saxon, of course, is named after those tribes, those Germanic tribes, which invaded England, right, in 449 AD, after defeating the original inhabitants at the time of England, who were the Britons. So after the retreat of the Romans, clear, and not for a long time, another invader came. They were the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. These were Germanic tribes who could defeat those Britons at the time, Celtic tribes, clear, and could invade and colonize England, right, for almost 6 centuries. This invasion began exactly in 449, in the 5th century, and continued or lasted until 1066, of course, with the coming of another invader, who were the Norman invasion later, which ended, of course, the Anglo-Saxon invasion. Good. Now, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, I said, were Germanic tribes who came from northern Germany and also southern Scandinavia. From countries like Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands. And they were strong, of course, and powerful warriors. They could defeat the Britons and, of course, spread and impose, of course, their culture, their traditions, and also their language, Germanic language, and this influence of those Germanic tribes and the language and culture, of course, influenced much the English language and its literature. So, the earliest literature of the Old English period was, in fact, in oral form. It means in the first part of this period, Old English period, clear, people kept depending always on the oral tradition of transmitting, narrating, and recounting literature, like in the past. And many of their epic poems, stories, clear, and literary heritage was transmitted verbally, means orally, from one generation to another. Even the creators or the owners of those poems and those oral masterpieces of that English literature at that time were unknown. Most of them were unknown. Like what happened with the Arabs during the period of their ignorance before the coming of Islam. They were also depending on what? Oral tradition in learning by heart and reciting and transmitting or passing their poetry from one generation to another just orally, because it's easy to memorize. Poetry mainly, this genre was cared for a lot by the early writers of literature, because the poetry, has musical notes, has structure, has rhythm, has meter, and so on, clear, and it is easy to memorize and to learn by heart and to pass down from one generation to another. And this justifies the interests of many forms of the earliest literature to be in verse, to be poetry and not prose. Okay, because it's easy to memorize, easy to also pass down from one generation to another. So the same happened also with the English at the time in this period, in the Old English period or the Anglo-Saxon period. Clear. All the literature at the beginning of this period was passed down just orally from one generation to another. And most of this was I said in verse, poetry. There were also many famous epic poems like the masterpiece of Beowulf, Claire. It is one of the major masterpieces written during this Old English period. Also, at the time, literature included some prose writing. But usually, most of the stories narrated, whether in verse or in prose, during that period, were, if you can say, fanciful and imaginative stories. Clearly, their aim was not to write literature, but was just to provide some kind of fun, entertainment, and so on. That's why we find its themes and topics surrounded always around, I don't know, around heroic adventures, romantic, stories with brave knights, beautiful ladies, horrible monsters, mystic spirits, and so on. So these are the beginnings of the Old English literature, which were in oral form, and were also works for entertainment, right, tackling these simple topics and issues. So the focus was not on providing or creating that mature literature, but for just having fun and entertaining and amusing the listeners or the audience and the audience. But over time, and after 2 or 3 centuries from the beginning of this Old English period, there was a big leap or shift, right, in the English literature. In the English literature, which shifted from the dependence on the oral tradition to the written one. It means the literature at the time started being recorded and written for the first time, right, in England, of course, thanks to many factors. There were many influential historical factors which led to the, of course, recording, and to the evolution, right, and maturity of that Old English literature, right, from its oral form to its written one. Also it influenced also its diversity in terms of its genres. So the first factor which led to this shift and evolution of literature in this period was the coming of Christianity, or the Christianization of the pagan English tribes. We said that before the coming of Christianity, most of the English inhabitants were pagans, believing in paganism, worshipping many gods. And this continued until the 6th century, mainly in 597 AD, with the coming of Saint Augustine, right, who, of course, came to England and, right, who could also convert at the time the English king, Alfred, I think, to convert to Christianity, of course, and this, of course, influenced his people, and they all converted to Christianity. Clear. And when we say Christianity, we mean interest in the Bible, religious teachings, religious texts, clear, learning about life of Jesus, life of different Christian saints, also moral lessons, and so all these, right, of course, encourages people to start reading, start learning, writing the Bible, translating it, clear, and also this led to the spread of literacy among people of England in this Old English period. So Christianity came to make people of England literate after they were illiterate. They were illiterate. So to learn from the Bible and to spread the Bible teachings, they had to learn reading and writing, and this state of being literate led them, of course, to use this craft of writing in recording also their literature, and their even old texts, which were in oral form, were recorded now for the first time. For example, like the epic poem of Beowulf, which was later, of course, recorded and written in the next centuries of this period again. Also, another factor which influenced the evolution of English literature in that Old English period was the coming of King Alfred the Great. During the reign of this brilliant king, who ruled both England and Scotland from 871 to 901, this king was obsessed with translation. Right, he was himself a translator. That's why he translated the Bible into English, and also translated many other books, right, from different languages to English. Right, he also encouraged education, established many colleges, imported teachers from Europe to spread education in England, and also he inspired many other thinkers, writers, and also philosophers, to translate more and more books from other foreign languages into English. And of course this created a kind of awakening with the movement of translation. And translation, will also lead to the spread of literacy, readership, and also this impacted literature, as people, of course, started even translating other works of literature into English, and also translating the oral works into English, let's say this, and also to the adoption for the first time of writing when producing any piece of literature, after it was just in oral form. Also, we have third factor, which happened in the 7th century, after the conversion to Christianity in England. Right, many monasteries were established across all the English territories. What were monasteries? They were a kind of communities of religious men, religious people, which included, monks, nuns, priests. And these monasteries, of course, also had a very important role in spreading Christianity across England. Across England, and they also made much or great efforts to teach people how to read the Bible, how to benefit from its different texts and scripture. And this also led to the evolution of this literature at the time, through making people again literate, and if you can say, acquainting them with the habit of recording everything in writing after learning about the Bible and its different teachings. So all these events in fact impacted the Old English language. The coming of Christianity, translation, also the Anglo-Saxon invasion. Here we have, you can say, many sides which melted together in that Old English, Old England, or Anglo-Saxon England. We have the Germanic tribes, which brought with them Germanic languages, Angles and Saxons. We have also those, teachings and religious texts, of Christianity, which brought with it the Latin language, because at that time Christianity was written in Latin, the Bible was written in Latin. Plus also the original language of the Celtic tribes. They were the Celtic languages. So the Old English language here, evolved and had that, if you can say, blend of three components: Germanic languages from Anglo-Saxons, clear. Also Latin languages language from the Bible, right? And also the original English or Celtic languages of the original English settlers. They were the Britons. So these components form to us the Old English language. So when I say Old English language, I mean that Old English, which was mixture of Germanic, Latin, and also Celtic languages. But for Germanic impact was stronger, was at the time stronger due to the power and also to the influence of those Anglo-Saxon tribes, clear, and German invaders. Right, good. And this language also kept evolving, right? And it witnessed its heyday, especially after when Codman, clear, he was famous English poet, right, who published and wrote his works, clear, which became popular using that vernacular Old English. Vernacular Old English was a mixture of Latin, Germanic, and Celtic languages. And he could popularize that Old English with its blend form and make it the norm, thanks to his works, which spread everywhere in England, and which, of course, led to the prevalence of the use of that vernacular Old English in writing. It became, if you consider, standard in writing literature at that time, thanks to this Codman poet.